Hello and welcome back to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Ben,
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Swizz.
and thank you for joining us for the delayed podcast, everybody. We are standing by, and we're not going to get the answers that we want at this point. I'm saying, let Cripps play. Let Cripps play. No, am I the only one?
Why, mate? Mitchy Owens, the GOAT.
The GOAT. Chris, how you faring, mate? The Pies just keep on winning, mate. They keep letting me down.
Unlike my Supercoach team, the Pies are going great. Yeah, it's been a good few weeks, mate. I think our chat has reached peak Chris Nuffy moments at points this season.
How can you be going backwards? Ryan's killing it. So how come you're going backwards?
Mate,
Oh,
I can answer that. He's too busy, mate. He's too busy. He's got his 10 or 11 game membership now?
That's it.
After joining up 11 weeks ago for the Pies, and he's just concentrating and enjoying the ride. Doesn't have
That's
time for
exactly right.
Supercoach anymore, mate.
Yeah, right.
Flag Pies.
When you're flag pies, hashtag. I've been too busy on Twitter hashtagging flag pies at every conversation. I'll be talking Australian politics, and I'll hashtag flag pies.
So,
You know what's going to be so funny with that? Richmond Collingwood first week of finals, mate.
Oh, I can't. If that happens, that'd be great.
so
So
Chris,
I'd rather the Lions. Sorry, Benny, I know you've got questions, but you know what? You've completely avoided the podcast for the last 2 weeks. The fans are pissed off. They've been bloody making memes because you haven't been here.
Oh,
Let's talk Richmond. Let's talk Richmond Brisbane second half, mate.
Let's talk.
Can we get the highlights up?
I think. Okay. No. You two shut up. Right now, basically, that very valid questions, very, very valid concerns. However, we don't want to be touching on things from last week, Swizz, because the people want to know about now. Right? The coulda, shoulda,
I'm touching
wouldas.
things right now, talking about Richmond Brisbane.
Oh wow! And I'm sure you're growing by the inch. Touchy. Oh my God, Swizz. Anyway, Chris, I'm just having a look at your team. Sorry to get back on track, everybody. 2,395, and that was even with the best captain option for the week.
Yeah, so
With a rank of 2,496.
Tom Stewart, man. So I waited for 4 weeks. Tom Stewart.
I just saw that.
And he comes in like last week I VC'd him for a pitiful 112. Pitiful. And then he comes in and Mitch Owens tags the hell out of him. And he goes for a 40. And I just how did that help them win? Because they were nowhere near anything.
Crazy is I brought in Vlosten as my D7, but played on field, and he nearly scored as much as Stewart in a quarter of footy.
And
yeah.
Maurice Rioli scored the same as Will Brodie, outscored Darcy Cameron, outscored Sean Darcy.
I had 5 people that scored 59 or less or something, didn't I? So yeah, I had Darcy, Cameron, Brodie was 65, Stewart. Who else went really bad? Well, obviously Owens.
Any pod, legitimately any pod last week went absolutely shit.
Yeah, no, it wasn't good for me. But I mean, I think again, I think Sicily only went 100, but yeah, he's still killing me. Dawson went 110. So
and Sinclair went 116 or 118. He just keeps killing us.
And I'm still rolling with Short, 77. So that's
Do you have any trades left?
No, because
so Hewitt's just
what people don't know, and I should. So when Canelio went down, I had the so this 3 weeks in a row, I've had to face a 0 on the a 0 on field, and with 1 trade remaining, and I went, all right, I'll pull the trigger this week, and I'll go. I had a last minute decision. I went to Cully instead, so I went I know one of my midfield players to Cully and then switched him around with Rioli on to get him on field. And then he comes in and gets a 26 and a suspension and does a hammy or something. Honestly, it was
why would you
last
trade? Why would you use your last trade on a rookie?
Because at the time, Owens wasn't named, so I didn't have any midfield cover, and I had no forward cover because Rioli was in and out of emergencies every second week. And I didn't know. And that week he was actually a sub, came on and scored more than Jai Cully. But yeah, so I just needed some cover forward and mid, and I was like, well. The only way I can
have just traded out Hewitt and then put your rookie in defense and then had a forward mid for Hewitt's price?
No, because then I would have been locked into. I wouldn't have had any defender cover at all for the rest of the season. So at least this way, I had forward, mid, and defensive cover, regardless of which way you look at it. and now I don't have any cover at all.
Interesting.
But
Swizz,
yeah,
how are you tracking on your rank? Because
Yeah, man, I'm cruising along. I was looking really good again. Buddy Sunday kills me, but 24.93 last week, so I'm up to 278, which is
ooh,
not too bad. I was
nice
tracking to
work,
be in
Swizz.
top 250 all weekend until, yeah, a couple of my Sunday guys shit the bed. But yeah, man, I can't complain compared to where was I before the buys, 13,000. So yeah, man, I've usually it's the other way around. I buddy sit top 100 all year, and I buddy, you know, hang on to that top 1,000 coming at this time of the year. But this year, I've been
You
tracking
still
nicely. So
you still might pit me on the line just like Richmond did the
I
other week
don't
against
think
Brisbane.
so because I'm going to have Mr. Cripps. I'm literally got Himmelberg on my bench as defensive bench this week, expecting Vlosten to pull out. Hello there, and um, and I'm literally because if Vlosten's are laid out and I don't put Himmelberg there, then I've got no cover. So I've got to do that and then just take the best score out of Owens, Rioli, and McDonald to cover Cripps. So, but in saying that, that's three rookies having a bite at Cripps' score, and Cripps has weeks where he doesn't score as well as some rookies. So yeah, it might be all right this week. We'll see what happens.
he's pretty
Very
highly
interesting.
owned, right? Like,
Yeah,
and
he is.
what was that? What was that stat that
I think it's
312
1/3.
players have? Yeah, one
Yeah,
third
a
of the top
third.
1,000 have Crips, but no trades.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
there could be
mean,
some like me though, because I had a loophole in Heaney, so Heaney just plays on field instead of Cripps. So there's probably some others like that, or I'll obviously be able to loophole Owens if he goes really well this on
yeah,
Friday
but
We're
night.
Heaney's going
all
to be
hoping
blanketed
Owens.
by the goat Braden Maynard this week. So I don't know how he's
Oh,
going to score anything. So
I don't know,
good
mate.
luck with
He's
that.
he's been doing all right. Either way, it's better than a donut. Speaking of top 100, I think
Anyone want
I
to
don't know,
take
Swizz,
bets
you
on
might be able
Sydney
to.
versus Collingwood this week? Because I feel like people have lost them
Sydney,
weeks in a row,
No,
and
mate.
easy.
I just want
Sydney.
to.
Pies are no Pies have literally no chance this week. Don't you guys have all the flu or something like that? That's going like in actually serious, like
Yeah, it
serious.
actually is, but
So
it's a
you
Sunday
guys,
game, so that was reported yesterday, and it's
yeah.
Sunday, so I'm not really too
But
worried.
but
If it
what
was,
there's always
Just
that chance that more players kind of get
yeah,
it
it
or the
goes through.
friggin' coat.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah,
if everything was fit and firing and that, I'd be like, oh yeah, Collingwood massive chance in this game, obviously. But that probably worries me, and actually think Sydney have copped Collingwood at the right week.
that's
you
true.
guys just like segued straight past the fact I said I'm top 100.
No,
99th.
we
First
don't have a fuck about
first
that,
time
man.
ever. I actually had a look. I think first time ever I've been in the top 100. I've gotten to about 130 about 3 or 4 times, I think, before. First time I've ever actually finished around inside the top 100. So I'm pretty excited. I'm hoping I can
No,
hold
it's
on,
good work,
fingers
mate.
crossed.
That's good work.
But I could fall off a cliff. I got no trades left,
No,
so
you'd be
I
like,
could.
mate, you're going to be
You,
like the Brisbane Lions, but like you're up there. You're
yeah,
looking
we'll
good,
see. I don't
and
know.
then
Just hope I can
half
hold
time
on
comes
with
along, and
a couple of good scores. I don't know how. I looked at my team. I'm like, I don't even know how I scored like 2,500 and whatever it was. I think the only saving 2,577. I think the only saving grace was I actually put the emergency on Brody, and then when he shat the bed, I was like, cool. So then I just went and put Heaney on field. So
Hey,
it worked
hey,
out
mate.
pretty
The
well.
reason I didn't really react to that is because I've been ranked 72nd this year, so I just didn't think that 99 was all that impressive. But I mean,
Have you
yeah,
been
whatever.
72nd this year?
Yeah, round two, buddy.
yeah, round
Oh man, this has been the longest intro, and I have to cut in here, boys, because I'm thirsty. Sponsored
Oh,
today is brought to you by splashvodka.com.au. What a rookie. These are all label inside out. There you go,
yeah, there we go.
splashvodka.com.au. Also Manscaped as well. So support for Supercoach Insider is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the world's best in men's below the waist grooming. The precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this offer. 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Supercoach SC Insider 100 is the code. SC Insider 100, and go to manscaped.com. So that is definitely been kicking off. I've been using my stuff daily, boys. And I don't know if you've noticed, a lot more ads have been coming out, and even a nice, I guess I could say that, an attractive lady talking about the Manscaped and hey man, get your business and all the rest of it. Um, yeah, SC
speaking
Insider
of it,
100.
speaking of attractive ladies talking about the Manscaped, it actually came up as a sponsored post for Father's Day. That's just around the corner, guys. So I don't know if you guys were looking at the old Manscaped packages. Might be something you want to send to your loved ones. But my lovely partner was like, "Oh, check this out!" And I'm actually technically not gonna be a father this Father's Day, but kinda, I guess. If you think about it a different way. But that'll be a pretty nice package for someone, because I would definitely appreciate that. So I know guys out there would as well.
And even those guys who aren't fathers, get it happening for your Tinder stuff,
Yeah, and for those and some people that are
put it part of your
fathers,
profile. I use Manscaped.
some people are fathers in waiting.
Oh,
They're
that's a great
just,
idea. We should make a Tinder profile and then put
On that,
20% off.
because
Use
then-
SC Insider 100.
because you did put it out to the public, mate. Your reveal, that's one of the great reveals, and that for your second bub, mate. So congratulations to you.
Go to Twitter. So we should probably give. This is all backwards today. 10 minutes of shit talk.
Yeah, no, it's good. Love it.
SC Insider 100. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Go to Twitter, where we posted. I posted up anyway. So obviously, my partner and I were expecting a boy in February. So I'm gonna have to really smash out my preseason research before February, because all time will cease to exist.
Lads.
Yes. So I put up father
Or
son. Can
should we
podcasters
say
have father son?
quack?
Oh,
Quack.
Mighty
Quack.
duck, you are. I am not quacking. I am not quacking.
Quack.
What a great movie.
Go Ducks. Yeah. That's really what
Chris,
what
you keep that up.
meant.
I'll give you the knuckle puck, mate.
I love the knuckle puck.
Yes.
1 in 5.
Maybe I can put that on my movie watch list this week.
So I suppose, look, at the end of the day, do we think Cripps is going to get off? I don't think there's any chance.
Absolutely no.
I
fucking
think
chance.
he is.
They could bring in the best fucking lawyer in the world, and he ain't getting Cripps off.
Harvey Specter couldn't get him off. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
that's right.
But I suppose there are people with trades. I'm not one of them. So let's have a look at alternatives. I think there's two ways to look at this, guys. First of all, price point of Cripps and below, and then price point around Cripps, and then above Cripps. If you've got heaps of cash in the bank,
which some people do.
You've got two trades.
And the advantage of flexibility as well is definitely a big one.
So yeah,
Yeah. So, if you're looking for a direct trade and you don't have Clary, I think that he's quite clearly the number one option. Coming off a what did he score? 150 something.
152.
He's dropped enough cash now that he's back down to like 640, I think, after
637
games.
637 500.
630. So if you've got the cash there to jump back on Oliver, and you traded him out when he got to his hand injury, I think that he's the clear number one by a long way. Especially now that they're playing Carlton this week with no Cripps. Let's just bank that in.
Kennedy, no Hewitt,
no Kennedy.
Midfield.
Like, they've basically got Walsh
and Shearer.
So I can't imagine that they're going to put up too much of a fight in that midfield in terms of contested possession. So I think he's going to have a field day, and he's actually a shout. When do they actually play? Saturday night. So the problem is, if there wasn't such an obvious VC in Laird against North, which I think is basically like everyone should have him if they don't have that.
Well, only 20% own Laird still, boys. So they must be hating life.
Yeah, Oliver versus Carlton's got to be a shouted if you don't have Laird for a VC option on Saturday night. So definitely one to look at. I think he's absolutely going to towel up. So number one for me would be Oliver. What about you guys?
If you're talking about no price, or obviously Oliver's got to be your number one choice. Just if you've got the money, unless if you've got like endless money to spend and you one trade left, well, go get Laird and that, because you may as well, buddy, just use the money for that.
Well, still,
he's 711 now, but if you're in that,
they just omitted the goat, Hugh Greenwood, so I can understand why.
I was talking about Horn Francis for a second there. Poor guy doesn't even get to go home. Do they take him along?
How cruel would it be if you have no cash and Brayshaw's literally 1K more expensive than Cripps?
That would suck. But at least we are
the
lucky.
obvious one straight under him is LDU. Is a straight swap for price.
That's a shit pick.
Well, mate, North have nobody in this week.
Mate,
who North playing the last two games? Nobody. Adelaide and fucking Gold Coast, mate.
Right, Swizz, pipe down, mate. Now, Luke Davis-Uniacke averaging 97 over the last 3 rounds. Cunnington coming back in. That's the real GOAT.
Hey, guys, I'm trying to find where Cripps is, but I'm sorted by average. I've got down to Hewitt, and then I've got to keep going, don't I?
I don't scroll by defenders, Chris.
No,
you are so lucky. Average. You have been kissed on the absolute dick in Billings getting injured on 0 to win you that bet. right? I was pretty much free rolling. And then Cripps was killing it without Hewitt and then gets suspended for 2. Hewitt's not even coming back in, so it saves his average. I mean, I honestly hope that they play him as a sub to get some small fraction of a match fitness in the last round next week. Just put him as a sub,
Beggars
Carlton,
can't be
and
choosers,
then
mate.
put
All
him
right,
on, get
so
him a 40, drop his average,
I'll take
drop it
one of
like
those
it's hot.
bottles of scotch that you've got on the counter there. All right, thanks very much.
Bullshit, you're getting the dregs, mate. I'm giving you some of the dodgiest dregs I could find. You ain't touching my collection.
Tell you what,
Fair enough.
Angus Brayshaw's that same price. If you had Hewitt, you might able to do something fancy with that by bringing in Cripps or one of them for Brayshaw, and that you might able to do some sort of loophole, depending on what rookie you have there. There's
It's
a bit
like
of
they're
a lucky
playing
Angus
him.
one.
Brayshaw, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, midfield.
he's
Midfield
midfield.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Maybe that's why he signed. I don't know, because he's just been killing that
yeah.
midfield mix, giving them something that they don't have as well. Was it a 119 over 3, 107 over 5? I think you can
and
definitely
like
do that.
at halftime, I think he was on like 87, and they didn't necessarily clamp him in the second half, but just Collingwood played better, and
Yeah.
therefore he just didn't have a free ball.
Yeah, but he still
I
If
scored
do
it's
think
but he still scored 42 in the second half, which is still not a bad second half anyway when you're not doing a lot.
nah, and I mean, his third fiddle there, he's never going to get tagged,
No,
surely.
well, that's right.
If I don't
Like,
have much cash, I'm literally going Brayshaw for basically the same price. Or if I have $7,000, I'm going Parish. That's pretty much what I'm looking at. If I don't have much
I
money, I'm
don't
going those
mind
two.
Brayshaw, but he gets tagged next week, guaranteed.
Hmm.
I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that this week he'll have a blinder probably, and the Derby. He's probably not going to
Who
get
they
much
play next
attention.
week?
West Coast suck. GWS.
Nah,
So
he
I've
ain't getting
looked at.
tagged.
Oh, okay.
They're not really tagging unless De Boer gets like
Yeah,
a
they are.
show off game. I do reckon he's gonna because he's retired as well. This is like
No,
retiring
they're using
central.
Lockie Ash
Yeah.
in a tagging role.
I
Yeah,
said
but
that the
Lockie
other
Ash wasn't
day.
even best 22 the other week.
I said
So
that the other day. Like, if you're in like a draft league, for example, like Josh Kennedy was the biggest lock last week. Have a look who
Oh,
else is retiring and you just get on them, especially forwards. They just
oh
feed
yeah.
retiring forwards.
McAvoy had a decent amount as well.
Yeah. Like, it's like an unwritten rule with the opposition. Oh, this guy's retiring. We'll let him have friggin' 30 possessions and kick 8, and who cares?
But if you
The
want
other
to
one
win
that
the
I
game,
like.
I'm surprised Adelaide didn't actually just
Adelaide still
jam him
were
a bit.
winning that game. Like,
Still,
Kennedy could
The,
have
oth-
kicked 10. They were still winning the game.
sorry, Chris.
the other one I
Yeah.
like, guys, is Callum Mills. So he's still only in 24% of teams, but he's about what 20k more. But Collingwood obviously have just leaked midfield points like it's going out of fashion. So he's going to have a field day this week. I'm pretty confident that even if they give him a run with roll, which they won't, because Collingwood don't do anything out of clearance at all, so they're not going to be damaging from midfield. He's just going to tear us up. So yeah, get on Mills at home, and then they've got St Kilda in the last week, so he'll probably go head to head with Steele. They'll just tackle the hell out of each other. I mean, that is what it is. But I don't mind Callum Mills as a bit of a shout for the next couple of weeks to average say 120 to 130 quite easily.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the issue
Brad.
is his last 11 games, he's only gone 123 times. And it's been a 120, a 120, 120, a 138, and a 138. So pretty much 3 out of his last 11, he's gone 120 or more. So I mean, he's a great player and he's only, his floor's pretty decent. I guess it's a good shake. He could go really well this week. It is a little bit of a risk, though. I don't think he's been firing the way he was at the start of the year.
No, I mean you're right in that he hasn't fired, recently, but he's just got that ceiling that can go. Yep, like he could. Like I was joking today in our chat when I was like, "Oh, Mills is on for a 200 this week." Like he could. Like that's feasible. That I could see Callum Mills 200 on Sunday, and not blink an eye because that he's got that in him. And Colin would just have no no ability in midfield to be accountable. So
Yeah, but at least
um,
the problem with that game, it's actually a top game. Like, these are the time of year I like looking at games which are just dead rubbers, where the players just pat their stats and
pack it in.
yeah, or they either pack it in, or you get the other ones who just cruise around and rack up their 40 because there's no defensive pressure. Like, who gives a fuck?
Rory Laird.
Rory led like last week.
The stat machine.
Yeah, that's why
Um,
I suggested LDU. I know what you're saying with Cunnington, but North's last 2 games are like meaningless. He'll run around and get 40. No one's going to fucking tag him. Nobody's going near him.
dude, Sam Berry's played so well in that
Yes,
midfield
but
role.
mate, they're not playing. They're not going out there, buddy, laying 20 tackles this week and that on each other.
He's leading the league in tackles, Sam Berry.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like that game, like the Adelaide West Coast game was great to watch because there was no fucking defensive pressure. It was like basketball. It's funny. It was
I don't
attacking
know if
footy
you can.
because both teams couldn't give a fuck about defensive pressure.
Tell us
Yeah,
how
I
you
mean,
really feel, Swizz.
Well,
Um, let's talk about flexibility options and some of the key
yes.
swings that we're talking about. So
Maxi Gorn.
if
Oh, sorry.
yeah,
The other one, obviously around the same price. Sam Walsh. So he's if they're going to win,
Oh,
he has to
it's
go big.
one person, right? He's got to go huge, not big, huge. So and he's got 2 weeks because if Hewitt's not back next week, then the only one that's going to be extracting the ball for them for the next 2 weeks is Sam Walsh.
do they do? But does he get now tagged because they've got no one else?
But dude, who are they playing? Well,
I would.
um, I mean, maybe I'll run with. You reckon Harms goes to him this week?
Yeah,
Does
I
Melbourne
would.
care?
I'd
I
try.
would.
I'd
Does
try and
Who
Melbourne
else
stuff
care
do
enough
they
him.
to be like,
like?
oh well, we'll just tag him and they're done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
100%. If especially just, I don't think it'll be around the ground as much because it's
Yeah.
like, well, if he's in open air, then if he gets the ball, then it's yeah. But in a contest, you try and negate any of those clearance work players. It's like, cool. Well, we'll just stand stoppage side of you
Yeah.
and just focus on you and push you out, and then literally clear the way for Clary and Petraka and stuff to come through as well. Just clear it.
Yeah. And the
Awesome.
Because who
next
else
week,
from the Blues is going to get the ball out of that midfield? Like, it's not good. Well, so they got
Who
Chera,
are
they
they
got
running
Cripps
in
in
that
there now. What?
midfield?
Well, if Cripps goes out, Paddy Dow's the next in. Like Paddy Dow.
oh, fuck.
That's legit.
maybe a
That's legit
200
their
to Clary.
midfielder this week. Sorry, Blues
Oi,
fans,
oi,
but
what's the bets? What's the bet? Dow comes out, has 28 disposals, kicks 4 goals, and then
they
gets signed
re-sign
up
him.
for another list next year.
Oh.
We've lost every Blue supporter out there that follows
Actually,
this show.
it'll be funny. Carlton will be playing
It's gonna
Melbourne
happen, Matt.
to let
Watch
him
it.
run free. Carlton will be paying Melbourne like, oh, can you just let this guy like have a free run? Just kick it to him. If you're kicking it out of the 50, just kick it straight to him. Give him a shot on goal. We'll pay you money to do it
Oh,
and get him
I don't
off
know
our
if you
list.
boys saw, but someone said earlier in the year that the teams were looking at Paddy Dow for his performances in the VFL. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure those teams were Norwood, East Fremantle, and Port Melbourne.
Oh, you know what it reminds me of? It's like a government workers where they hate them so much that they're giving them like a best review to get them out the door. It's like, hey, yeah, you want a promotion? Cool, this person's great, and then like up they go because everyone just passes them along. It's literally like that. Where he's the best
Anyway, the
player
other
ever.
thing with Sam Walsh, guys, he plays the Pies next week. So again, more midfield points just going to go straight his way. So
Yeah,
Sam
but
Walsh,
you
give us
guys
a
could
shout.
possibly do lockdown.
With who? They just don't do it. Their midfield
No.
setup is not built to win
Yeah, I know.
clearance.
But
It's
again,
they're built to rebound the football.
yeah.
So they don't really mind if they lose the clearances because they've got such a strong defense that it holds up quite well, and then they rebound, and that's how they score. So if you watch, or this is why the stats are so misleading in Collingwood games, and why we absolutely get dominated. Yet somehow we're still kicking a
Yeah,
lot of
you
goals.
guys are all you're doing is playing like we did in our premiership years.
Yeah.
Like you look at
So
our Supercoach points during those years, we didn't get much of the ball. It's
no.
all, as you said, rebound from defensive 50,
Yep.
transition,
And transition
and
football.
your small
Yep.
forwards, like bringing in Johnson and you got Elliott, DeGoey, all those boys down there. That's how we played for those years.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's exciting football, but at some point, I would just love to win a clearance. I could tell you that. And if it
Mate,
wasn't
you
for
won't,
Degoe in
mate.
that second half, there's no way we win
Playing
that game.
our game style, you'd never see us win a clearance during those times. Like, it's fucking frustrating. But you just have these half backs. That's why Dacos is just racking them up because he's like
So
the
good.
old Basher Hawley. Just sits there and freaking just racks up ball all day and nobody gives him any attention.
Yeah.
Well,
So look,
Brisbane win clearances, we just lose the game. And if you're going to talk about Collingwood, I need a stiff drink for that one for sure. Bit of cask strength, the Irish whiskey. I broke out the Irish today, boys. It's called the Redbreast Single Pot Still Cask Strength. I showed it before. I got the Irish out because with Cripps went to the tribunal to be sure.
fair enough. Look at this guy with his puns. He's back.
Yeah, you
The
were
only
talking
other
about
shake.
other players from other lines.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
Maxi Gorn's the obvious one there, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about
And
the
only in
advantages
like
of having
23%
that,
of
though.
teams are Maxi Gorn at the moment
Yeah, I
because
wish
obviously
I
a lot of
did that
people.
instead of Voston now. Fucking hell.
Yeah, so this a friend of ours, Damien Gunn, he's looking at that as his main trade. So he's got swings where he can is you can trade out, let's say, move English from the ruck line into the forward line, move a forward into forward mid, so play them at M8, and then therefore you're bringing in essentially Max Gawn, Patrick Cripps, or something similar. That's a really good shout. You could do the same in defence, bring in, say, a Jordan Dawson or someone like that. And then if you've got, say, a Hewitt that's not playing or whatever it may be, move him into the midfield, etc. So there's ways that you can configure your team so you don't have to actually just look in that specific line. Who's going to be the best performer over the next 2 weeks out of all the places, and then work it out. So that's all you're really looking for. Who's the best averaging player that you can afford in the next 2 weeks, regardless of line? And I think the answer, guys, are quite clear. It's Luke Ryan, isn't it?
No. He is an absolute heater, but he could just turn around and go back right into his shell. Also, if you're playing for leagues like a lot of people are, it's pretty big finals time now. It's either a grand final for some or a semi to try and get into the grand final. So I'd be looking at particularly your matchup. Who are you up against? And what unique person has the most hurt factor? And I'd be like that you can afford, obviously. I'd be going there.
Yeah. I can see that.
Especially if they don't have Clary.
So
Jump
you've
on.
got the two options. You can either go get a unique person that you're going to try and get points over the top of them because that their unique may have harder fixtures or whatever it may be, or try and cancel them out. So there's the
If they have Laird, cancel Laird out. You have to.
Yeah, that's rough scenes if you don't have. Oh, but I mean, he's so expensive now. If you don't have Laird, how are you getting 711K?
Yeah, you can't.
You've got to just have a shitload of cash sitting there.
I didn't know how expensive he was.
Good segue. How do we start Laird next year?
You can't.
Depends. You can. No, but you have to, because you know why? Crows are going to finish bottom 6, which means they get a juicier fixture. And most likely going to start with juicier teams.
Probably play North again twice.
Yeah, they'll play like North, West Coast, Port. They'll have Port Adelaide early. They'll
He's going to be so expensive.
And that, but you're going to have no choice because they're going to have these easy teams to start with.
Actually, what would it be broken down to? He'd probably be, I think.
His average is 129, so he'll be.
Well, basically 130. He'll be 130.
He'll be 700. I think 130. At 130, it's 700K.
I don't know how you pay that, and this is another key reason why it's best to kind of start with some premium players or try and upgrade to the best ones early, because he is low owned because no one can afford him. And when it comes to a flip between, hey, I can afford a steal at 550 or 700,000, people go for the cheaper option. It's where the value is, right? And I remember, I think I got him because I didn't want to be priced out. Chris jumped on super early. I was like, hey, they have a really good draw coming out. He's banging out hundreds. I jumped on at like 600. I didn't want to get priced out. And that's exactly what's happening at this current point in time. People are priced out. You can't pay $711,000 for one player, generally.
And that's the thing. Like, him and Oliver are going to finish similar averages. But Clary's going to have a harder fixture, because if the D's finish top 4, if the D's were to win the flag again, and that, which not out of the chance, or even if they were like runners up, well, we know then it's Geelong Melbourne to start the season. And they're going to have, a couple of those other, they play Richmond round 6, but leading into that, they'll have probably play Brisbane or somebody like that. So they're going to have the tougher game. So you think, well, maybe he can drop a lower score during that. So if you had to make the choice, it's going to be Laird or Oliver. You're probably taking Laird just because of the fixtures.
I'm correct you on one thing there, mate. It's probably going to be Geelong Collingwood in the first game next season. But, I mean, just beggars can't be choosers, buddy. It's all good.
Jeez, Geelong wish they got Collingwood, I think, in the finals.
If honestly, Geelong are our bunny side, but I think they're everyone's bunny side at the moment.
They
just want to avoid us, mate.
Big question, Chris.
We'd love to play Richmond, but we're not going to.
No, we would love to play Collingwood. It's set up for us. First week,
Brisbane don't want to play Richmond.
First week we play you guys. Second week we play the D's. Third week we get Geelong in the prelim, and then we get some interstate hack at the G, like Brisbane, who can't win there.
Pretty
much. Games
that would require Brisbane getting to the final.
Yeah, that is true.
Usually
Chris,
you're the straight sets kings, aren't you, mate?
Chris, hypotheticals. If Collingwood made the grand final,
over there, not winning a final in so long.
That's bullshit.
Look how hurt he is.
Absolute bullshit. Now, Chris, if Collingwood make the grand final,
57 points up last week. It was nearly the miracle on grass again, just in reverse.
If Collingwood make the grand final, Chris, are you going to go?
I don't think I actually can't this year. There's no chance because that like let's say I'm in there and then I get a phone call saying, "Hey, I've gone into labor." Yeah,
Oh, you're due around the same time.
yeah. So that's
Ah,
not a great idea. So
no,
don't think I
not a
can
great
this
idea.
year
It's called priorities, Chris.
unless we take them both.
I was going to say it'd be good for you to go and witness absolute anarchy and
Oh,
I couldn't do it
devastation.
again.
2
I
finals in
couldn't
a
do it.
row.
I will
If I
throw up because I know we're talking more classic, but people might be in draft finals this week as well,
Like you and me, Swizz. You're
like
dead
you
to
and
me.
I. That some of
like
the
me, mate.
players sitting there, Shane McAdam, Lockie Murphy, Mitch Hinge, these guys that you'd never consider, but they all went massive last week playing the West Coast. What are they going to do to North Melbourne at home? Some of these like no-name guys and stuff like that. So
Well, I'll tell
maybe
you.
if you stream forwards, maybe get on some of these Adelaide forwards this week.
I'll tell you something for nothing as well. I jumped on Jaden Stevenson, who has a quite a high 3 round average. Obviously, moved behind the ball. He was just available. I
and he
think his average.
legitimately moved behind the ball. He's
Yeah.
freaking back twice.
And so I think he got 109 and gave up a goal with a direct clatter.
What gave up a goal, turned his back, and also turned his back a second time, and they dropped Greenwood and Horn Francis over him. Go figure.
Makes sense. Talent
They want that
club.
number one pick, which is going to Brisbane anyway. Will
Yeah, so I
Ashcroft.
jumped on Jaden Stevenson this week, and I think that he's a good shout. But I mean, as a forward mid who's playing defense again at North, who are going to get probably pumped again this week, and lots of points. He's taking kickouts. Like he's actually a really good shout in draft this week to go 100 plus. So as a forward, I think that's in most draft forward lines consist of 2 or 3 guys that are like bit parts that are going to be like, let's say averaging 80 or 75 ish. And, on a good day, they're going 90 plus, but on a bad day, they're going 60s. Like I have, for example, Jeremy Finlayson, who has got me 130s in the past few weeks, but he's also dropped a 40 and a 50. So would I rather someone who's going to be more consistent, like a Stevenson in the back line, or would I rather someone like a Jeremy Finlayson? So
Yeah.
definitely.
And the great thing about draft, especially, it's more forwards. Most people stream forwards. That's where you're looking at the weak versus strong matchups. And yeah, we all know it's Adelaide North this week. Will Day's available in a few drafts. I'm flicking around. Richmond Hawthorn, he's probably going to sit back, and we have a tendency to bomb the ball to Lynch and intercept marks and stuff like that. So might be a little sneaky one because for most people it's covering that. Unless you're in that situation where you've got Patrick Cripps or and shout out to our good mate Abdul because I'm playing him in a draft league and he split the cash with me. What an
Good on
absolute legend
Abdul.
what a legend of a bloke because
Where is he now? He's third or something?
yeah, he's third. I think Jay's taken over as number one.
Yeah. Good on him.
So good luck to Jay Peterman on that and good luck to Abdul. I don't know who second is, but really couldn't give a fuck. So there's yours.
Mitchie Owen's going to score a 120 this week, and
yeah,
that'd be great.
Abdul needs Josh Kelly to go nuts.
Yep, get him a 200.
Well,
For sure.
Who are they playing? They're playing someone that he could go nuts against, right? GWS are playing
Western Bulldogs. So maybe.
yeah. So I mean, the problem is
Yeah.
obviously that midfield just
Eats
destroys
points.
the points. But he's probably not going to get tagged. Here's the other interesting thing for next year, guys. Looking onwards, obviously McRae's dropped quite a bit of cash because he's playing a little bit more outside. They've put Dunkley back inside. He's coming up, and McRae's going down. Both again must-haves next year. Dunkley probably still going to be a forward,
Especially
Dunkley because do
the Lions.
You want this little update with all the possible little trade goss? So Dunkley, apart from obviously the Bulldogs wanting to keep him, so you've got Port Adelaide, Lions, Essendon, and Richmond all inquiring about his services, and naturally, especially 3 of those teams could do, especially Port and Richmond need an inside midfielder, so would be interesting there.
Brisbane need an inside mid too.
What's he worth? And then would you rather have Taranto or Dunkley?
I'd take Dunkley.
In a heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
What's he worth in the open market? He can't be worth more than 600, 700K, right?
He'll be worth 7 to another club.
As far as trades, though, he'd be worth twice of Taranto, in my opinion.
No, but Taranto's a free agent. He's not. No,
is he?
Dunkley's
surely not.
Dunkley is not a signed player, is he? I'm sure he's a free
agent.
agent.
I don't think
he had another year.
Almost went 2 years ago, and he still had 2 years left. But I don't know if Dunkley's actually a free agent or not. But he should be.
Well, maybe they can trade him to the Pies just for goodwill after we've paid freaking Treloar's contract for the
So
last
if
2 years.
Dunkley left, he's an absolute lock, especially if
Yeah.
he went to one of those teams that needs a midfielder. Not
it'd be interesting.
not the Lions as much, Benny boy, but
The
yeah, if he went to
Pies are
one of those
desperate
other
for an
ones.
inside mid.
Nah,
That's what
he's
they
going to
would be.
Brisbane, mate. You know why? He wants to win a premiership.
He better get to a team that knows how to play on the G then, eh?
Hey, it'll happen.
And then what about your
So
boy?
he's
College chick,
unsigned.
man. It's
Okay.
gonna
Because I know the
happen.
one that a lot of people have been talking up, and I know I've been seeing some of Tim Mitchell's and a few tweets there about what ruck combinations are people looking at. Well, Darcy gets ruled out if Jackson goes to Freo, which is looking most likely. And then Chris's boy there, Grundy, rumoured to go to Melbourne. Imagine Gawn and Grundy. Like, you couldn't touch him, could you, if they were playing in the same side?
I just don't think. I mean,
I think I'd go Grundy.
I think I've gotten to the point where I've realised in my love of AFL that ruckmen don't really impact the contest as much as I thought. So
Yeah, but we're
spending
doing
that
from a
much on ruck.
Supercoach perspective here.
No, well, yeah, you can't go through either of them. I'm talking from a football perspective. Is that I don't think that paying that much for a ruckman is a good investment in your salary
Have a look
cap.
at all the premiership sides of recent years. Like, we won it with Nank. Nank was bargain basement from Sydney. Outside of probably Natanui at West Coast. Like, who was the Bulldogs ruck that year that won the flag? Can't even remember who won the flag for them. Hawthorn had Big Boy, which
It wasn't
that big of a
Stephen Martin
price to
came
get from St
afterwards.
Kilda.
Did they have Roughhead? Well, was he the?
No, it
I
wouldn't have
don't
been
even know.
Roughhead. I was thinking Mason or whatever his name was. He
Yeah,
wouldn't have been there by then, was
That's a
he?
great freaking question. That shows the point, doesn't it? It's like, outside of Nick Nat and Gawn, most of the ruckmen have, they've been solid ruckmen, but they're not like, wouldn't be in your top 10 paid players.
Yeah, it's
Because they got
I mean,
English just after that draft.
Yeah.
Because they
I think
won.
as long as the
I'm gonna look
ruckman
it
that
up.
you have
I'm
doesn't
actually
hurt you the
fascinated
other
by this
way.
now.
So as long as they can be sort of a defensive ruckman, help you around the stoppages, I think that
Like Sean
that
Grigg?
helps. Yeah, someone like that.
Horrible. Well, Dunkley's also a ruck, so I think he's only 25, so I think he fits Brisbane's demographic perfectly. I think with Jared Lyons as well being a little bit older now, I think he'll probably start to play more forward, and Dunkley can go straight into the guts, and that's pretty much as pure as it is. You've got Neil, you've got Dunkley, and you've
No,
got
you're right, boys.
McCluggage, and I
You're
think
right.
that's it.
Roughhead was their ruck.
He was. Right, there you go. Dunkley unsigned as well, so I think that's definitely something to consider. Now, here's the issue that I'm having for next year, seeing that we are looking forward. How am I going to afford all these players? Are Supercoach going to say, hey, by the way, because of inflation and everyone being like super awesome and killing it with bugger all
No.
injured players at a discount, do we get like a salary rise? Because we can't afford all these players next year.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen, especially defenders.
We can't afford anyone.
Well, the thing is, we're not taking we won't be starting Will Ashcroft because he'll be going to the Lions. If he was going to North Melbourne, he was the biggest lock in the world next year if he was going to the Lions. But unfortunately,
Still might be able to. Didn't Mills play straight out of defence for Sydney, like after their premierships?
Yeah, he could, but mate, you've got like that many bloody halfbacks as well.
Put him in the guts, straight under Dunkley. Learn from the master. Yeah, no, and it's. I'm trying to think of people that have been injured for most of the year, and there's not many great players. I mean, you have Seedsman, Fife will probably get a discount. Yeah, there wasn't a huge amount. And then all I can really think of is like North Melbourne had a couple people like Will. What's his name? Will something. Will Phillips. Yeah, but even he wasn't like really setting the world alight. It could be a Paddy Dow 3.0. But that's all I'm thinking. Like that's the only value that I can really see off the top of my head as far as injured players that haven't really played much. Cunnington maybe, but he was so good the year before. He's not going to get a huge discount. I don't think.
Dunkley is a free agent, NFA.
Yeah. Oh, free? I thought he was just out of contract.
That's got in here. What's that mean? Because UFA is unrestricted, so it's going to be non-restricted free agent, isn't it? NFA? Because that's the same as Toronto.
I thought they were both free agents. I don't know what NFA.
Yeah, they would be.
I thought there was only restricted.
Isn't non-restricted now 6 years?
No idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case.
I'd have to look into that.
I'm pretty sure.
Essentially, what it means, I think that means that they're restricted, right?
They can match.
Yeah, which they're not going to because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
So,
which is
yeah.
But yeah, as I was saying, but the rucks are interesting, as you were saying, And yeah, those lack of bargain there's always somebody, but yeah, I don't think the bargains compared to this year are naturally there. Like, it might have to be a case of, like, you look at your rucks this year, like those who started Wits, massive pat on the back. Like, do you start looking at your clubs, teams like Hawthorn, for example, it would be like Ned Reeves, or, it'd be someone like that next year, which will save some coin, who will be actually half decent. Maybe Port Adelaide have a cheaper ruck, or, these clubs, because, yeah, you're going to have to find a way to save money somewhere.
Oh, well, either way, it'll be fun,
It'll be
I'm
interesting.
sure.
But at least, Ben, it's the
Hopefully I'll
same
have
for
better
everybody
trades.
anyway. So probably,
That's true.
Hopefully I'll
yeah.
have less injuries on the way home like I
Well,
had
that's
this year.
always the biggest drama. Not
Hey,
as much of this
just saw
COVID shit.
JB tweeting as well, saying he predicted earlier in the week Robbie Gray to be rested, so he's fit for the showdown and what will be his last game. And apparently, he's being rested this week, so that could be interesting. I know it's been
Get
the
on
Robbie
year of
Gray next week.
retirees.
if you're in a draft league, just grab him now, put him on your
Next
bench
week?
for next week if you make the grand final. Robbie
Not
Gray's got
many. Oh
140
yeah,
next week.
but it's been the retiring.
It happens all the time. I'm telling you, retired players get on them for
Yeah, but
draft
not to
finals.
this caliber. Who are all the awesome retirees from last year?
Was there any retirees last year?
Exactly.
was
So you're
fresh
saying it's
from COVID.
always the
Yeah,
time.
but
No one
like,
remembers last year. This
yeah,
year is pivotal.
no, but if you look through the past years and like in previous years when
Not
players have
like
come out to
this.
retirement,
Not
they're
like
fucking
this.
berserk. Like, because nobody gives a fuck. They let them run around and do whatever they want.
I know they're saying they go well. I'm saying, but we
Yeah.
haven't had the caliber of
Oh,
players
not the
as
caliber.
this
Yeah,
year.
yeah, of course,
You know,
of course.
JJK,
You'd
JPK,
probably have to go back like 4 or 5 years. There probably would have
Mundy,
been a big group, like when like Hodge
McAvoy
and Lewis and Mitchell and all them went out at the same time.
/ got forced. Yeah,
Yeah. /forced.
interesting.
Yeah.
Still no news on the Cripps front here, guys. So
No, mate,
there you
these
go.
lawyers will take it through to about 1 a.m. Make sure they get their pay back.
It will. I
Shout out
think
to our lawyer friends out there.
They call it
people
fee
will-
justification, guys. If you're going to pay me $700 an hour, you better get your money's worth, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well,
and
are
then
they
make sure that they
retainers or-
deliver.
Are
Yeah,
they barristers? Because they're like $5,000 an hour or $10,000 an hour. So.
Yeah.
and they'll
They
probably
our membership
deliver.
money. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, really?
Oh yeah, I mean,
It's not
only
ours. It's
Carlton's money.
Carlton's, but
Makes sense.
And then it'll take 2 hours to come up with their decision, and they get paid for that 2 hours as well.
yeah. And the same result will happen 2 weeks. Well done. Wouldn't that be funny? Can they slap an extra week on?
I
Well,
don't
I
think they
reckon-
can.
No,
They're
they took
challenging
that
the
out.
Yeah.
they're challenging the justification of the rule and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I think they'll either get upheld or it'll get thrown out.
Yeah.
That's pretty
You
much the only two options.
Can't fight against the dictatorship that is the
Could they
AFL,
do
mate.
the Greg Williams thing and take it to federal court and like get a push back? Well, do you get pushed back like 8 weeks or something that year for
No,
pushing an umpire?
You know what? It'd actually be hilarious. The barrister rocks up and he's like, you know what? It's just the vibe of the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, you are not quoting the castle.
Yes. Yes.
It's either that
That's,
or it's
that's
or
their
it's Van-
argument.
Well,
That's their argument. It's
I
just
drove
the
food money
vibe.
doing the
That's
other day.
literally their argument.
I will counter your argument, Chris, with Van Wilder, and obviously it goes back to a notorious case. But if the glove don't fit,
Well done, sir. Well
he's
done.
like, if the glove don't fit, you're full of shit.
But seriously, that's their argument. Is it? Oh, it's just the vibe. Like, what else are they going to try and do?
Well, I think they're
It wasn't
saying
high.
The
Well, it was
Chewbacca
high.
defense.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I
didn't
heard
see him.
South Park.
I heard a very funny but very cruel prank, I think the other day, whereas this couple broke up and the guy was so pissed off, he put her phone number like on one of those things that you can pull from a tab,
Yeah.
basically saying it was a Chewbacca competition. So call up with your best Chewbacca impersonation and the
Oh,
winner gets
yes.
$100. And all these people were calling, leaving voicemails at all times of day with their Chewbacca voices.
That's great. That's good.
Oh, kind of cruel.
So there's no real like major outs outside of that. Oh, apart from Geelong resting Duncan.
Yeah.
Who else are they resting? Selwood resting
They
as
got
well.
Dalhouse, Isaac Smith, Segler, and Duncan.
Yeah,
So
so
we've all been big on that next game next week for Geelong West Coast. If you're looking at, and everyone's thinking, well, maybe I trade in a Geelong player. Maybe don't, because who knows who they could rest next week against the West Coast. Even though they've got the week off the week after, it's most likely Geelong's going to play the Thursday night game at the G. So they might go, well, fuck it, we'll just give our players a whatever that is, a 12-day break or 11-day break or something.
Do you reckon
And,
they'll even look at their matchups and go, hey, this is who we look like we're playing? And like, yeah, we don't really like that matchup. So maybe we'll just rest a lot of people. Maybe West Coast win and we play someone else.
So it won't make a difference if Geelong win this week. They're finishing top anyway. So.
Oh, really? Okay, so then they could
I
just
think so.
stack it. Do the old
Yeah,
North
because you got to
Melbourne and
remember,
then
Pies are already a game clear in second. So yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
well, yeah, until
this
teams
week.
below them. I think there's 3 teams on equal points. They're not a game clear, are they?
Yeah, we are a game clear of second.
Yeah, but
of
not.
third
Yeah, but
because
Collingwood's
percentage
percentage
is bad.
is shit.
Yeah.
So
your
yeah,
percentage is
if we
horrible.
get even, then we can drop all the way to 5th.
Yeah.
So just need if Sydney win and then Brisbane and a few others win, then you pretty much go straight out of the top 4, yeah. And justice will
Yeah, I think so.
prevail,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
If
Justice.
Sydney and Carlton win, we won't be in the top 4. No chance. Because Freo have got easy ride. Surely they'll win their last 2. So yeah, I think that they'll jump into the top 4 if we.
So in saying that, there were so many upsets this week. I wouldn't be surprised if some club comes out and causes a major boil over this week.
Yeah, that's true. Could happen.
Like it always happens. There's one
like Pies over Sydney or something like that.
That's not a boil over, mate.
Oh yes, he's finally admitted Pies are the greatest team in the land.
No, I didn't say
You
that.
are
I just
right.
said it's
You're
not
correct.
a boil over. The boil over would be something like, what do we got there? Like the Giants beating the Doggies, just because they're rival
If
over
Hawks,
the years.
well, what about Hawks versus your boys this week?
Yeah,
If that happens,
that's
then
a big chance.
you guys have to win against
Yeah.
Essendon to make sure you guys make the 8.
Yeah.
So 2 danger games in a row. If you knock this over, then you don't have to worry about the last
Yeah,
one.
that's
'cause
right.
You guarantee.
That's why I think
But
Boston will
it's a
play this
danger
week.
game this week. Yeah.
Because I'll make sure we try to win, and then we can start resting players and whatever
And
the week after.
as I said a couple of weeks back, if I wouldn't want to be you guys going in to play Essendon in the last week of the year, it'll be their grand final, mate.
Mate, will be, but they haven't beaten us in about 25 years. So.
Actually, now that I mentioned final and Essendon,
don't tell them it's a final because then they will lose.
Yeah, that's
you
it.
can't do that.
It's Essendon's final, so we'll be fine.
Yeah. Apparently the Cripp scenario. So I'm following this, boys. Anyway, it's an hour and 50 minutes into submission, and basically Carlton just keeps talking, and they keep talking, and they've been talking the entire time. Apparently, so it's just been
back of the fence, mate. We'll just talk shit.
Yeah. If the glove don't fit,
just keep.
You know what we should do? We should
them, and eventually they'll be like.
Speaking of Van Wilder, speaking of Van Wilder, we should hang down outside the jury, Chris, like Van Wilder. Let Cripps play. Let Cripps play off a big hoist.
Nah, we shouldn't actually, because I would prefer him not to play with Hewitt not playing still.
Yeah, I have double reasons.
I'm so tired of watching him go big when Hewitt's there. So I'm okay. I'm okay. Just calm your farm, buddy. We're good.
I would like him to play. And I actually had someone call me out saying, as a Brisbane fan, aren't you pretty pissed that Archie got knocked down? I was like, no, I'm entirely selfish right now. I'm popping a donut.
He's not even best twin too, pal. All right,
Ben's
calm down.
Oh, that Archie, he's made like paper. Stand up, mate. Take it.
Pretty much. He's half the weight of Cripps. And I'm like, well, what do you think's going to happen? If he did not jump off the ground to try and contest the ball, obviously Cripps probably shouldn't have attacked it as aggressively or as hard. Yeah, he jumped higher. He weighs twice as much. Poor Archie, just jumps off the ground a little bit and then gets hit. And obviously, he's going to legs flick out from underneath him and end up, causing
but that's the whole point of duty of care. That's why tall ruckmen get done for tackling little midgets.
Well, what about 2 ruckmen jumping at each other in the air? What's the difference?
That's 2 ruckmen.
And I don't know if you noticed, but
as a bigger person, this is what the AFL have said.
Towards him.
What the AFL says, that if you're a bigger, stronger player, you can't just do whatever you want and ragdoll little tiny Caleb Daniel. You're not allowed to.
You should be able to.
I agree, but you're not
100%.
allowed to. And so this is the whole point. It's a duty of care that is not taken into consideration.
See, my argument's twofold. Number one, if Archie kept his feet on the ground and didn't jump, he wouldn't have been knocked out.
It's like dodgeball. Yeah, you've got to be bigger
and
stronger than all the other kids.
Yeah, keep your feet on the ground. And secondly, he actually turned his body to kind of take the hit.
Take his head without injuring himself. You're right.
Yeah, it's completely his fault. So
this is great.
It's just such a how much is the bill to Carlton right at this point in time? You watched the video, right? Yep.
I'm a cheap guy. No. Have you seen the new footage though? The handheld camera. It was like Blair Witch Project. It was like this.
It shows
like Michael J. Fox's handheld camera. It's pretty bad.
They absolutely have no care for finances at clubs. We talk about like the pies, just paying players to play against you
Oh, can
and stuff
we?
like that. The clubs don't give a stuff. They literally don't. Like any other like major corporations would be like, yeah, we're shutting this place down. Like, what the fuck's going on here? How can you just waste money like this?
Did you hear Eddie Maguire apparently said this? Like, this is a legitimate thing that Eddie Maguire said on live TV.
Hmm.
Is that like they were
He's
talking
allowed on
about
live
Richmond
TV.
players. They were talking about
Yeah.
Richmond players and how they could take pay cuts to
Yeah.
to stay at the club. It's like, yeah, but Richmond have the relationship where they could probably even that up behind, like with third party endorsements and stuff. He said
Exactly.
that live
Yeah.
on TV,
Yeah, he did. Which
and
shows
like
what was
I'm
happening
sure
at Collingwood during those
absolutely
years.
must
Yeah.
have been. So that's why they don't care about the 300 grand they're
Yeah.
paying for Treloar, because they're like, oh well, Degoe, you got to make another 500 grand behind the doors anyway. Like, who cares?
Well,
So,
like that was the whole rumor. Like when the Essendon through early 2000s, some of the players' wives were getting paid, or getting cushy jobs and things like that.
Is
yeah,
that the Wayne
social
Carey
media
Foundation?
management.
And that happened, wasn't it? Tom Scully, like his dad became like
Oh
a
yeah,
scout or
recruiting
something
manager
like
or
that.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. The most dodgiest stuff happens with all this sort of stuff. It's
Was it?
unreal.
There was one in the early cases where I think, manager or whatever, I think got the player to start up a URL. Do you know what I mean? Like it was endorsed, it was like a website for their name, and then the club bought that domain off
Yeah.
them for an exorbitant amount of money because it's a business transaction.
That's why a lot of
Like,
local sporting, like obviously everybody knows I'm involved as a cricket president, and we have like the points, and they keep editing the points to make it, fairer for the competition for your first 11. But they don't worry about salary caps these days because it's just too hard to track. Like if there was salary caps and it's in local footy, I know some leagues are just, we'll just have the point system and have strict things because they can monitor that easy. It's easy to sit there and go, okay, this guy used to play AFL. We can
what's
make
the
them
point
a
system?
10. Well, for example, let's just say for cricket, we get like an international player. They might be 6 or 7 points, where a junior was a 1-pointer, and we're only allowed 23 points for the year. So there's no salary cap. So if we want to go and play a player $5 or $100,000, that's on us. Because if you try to enforce salary caps, all you do is go, oh well, look at this. We bought this person's girlfriend a brand new car. They're not going to know about that, or give
The
them some
problem is
fancy job and shit like that. And
I love that idea. The only problem is who's allocating the points, and
that
what are the rules,
well,
like around those
and that's
points.
all
Yeah,
throughout in the league. Like they have it written down. You can't do anything fancy with that because
yeah.
that's black and
So if we
white.
were to take that and apply that to AFL, like who's worth 10 points?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
who's
it's too hard for AFL, but like
Paddy
local
Dow's
leagues,
worth 10
They-
points.
that's why
you
it's
can't
like,
even get free agency compensation right,
yeah,
mate.
that's right,
Like
that's right. But
it's
but
an
the
interest.
merit,
I
like the
definitely
merit in it's great, and that's why it works in local leagues better.
yeah.
Like there's still, and if clubs, the problem is then some clubs will always try to fork out money, but if there's only a certain amount of top players you can still get in there because you're limited. So from local league perspective, that's good. But how do you do it at AFL? Like it's just too hard.
Yeah, I think there's I mean, it's a good conversation. I think that, I mean, the other, a caveat to this is, do we make, player salaries public, and then that way it's easily be tracked.
Well,
And
I know
I
that
look at that.
everybody's like, oh well, we don't need to know that, but like I'm a train driver. Anybody can look up our EBA and see exactly how much money I'm on. Well, not to
Yeah,
the dollar, but you'd know a rough idea of what I'm on. So I've always thought, well, players, it should just be bracketed. Like you might sit there and say these players are between 100 and 200. These players are between 200 and 400, something like that. They're on 3 years between 200 and 400. It at least gives you a rough idea then, instead of like having no, and then it's just all these rumors and speculation comes out because anybody who's got an EBA, you can look up what they're on.
what I like from a reveal kind of deal is more fan engagement in regards to trades,
Yeah, that too.
because I like looking at, so if I'm looking at, let's say, NBA trade
Yeah.
scenarios, I want to improve my list. How do I do that? All right, I can trade this player for $700,000, and then I can package him up with 3 other guys from 2 other teams, get an equivalent or whatever it may be,
Mm.
and get a trade package and package it all up. Whereas right now, you look at guys and you've got no idea what they're getting paid next year, because some are front-ended, some are back-ended, some are all over the place, some have signed
Some are
extensions.
getting paid
You've got no idea.
300,000 by Collingwood.
Yeah,
That's 2
exactly right.
players.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Did you
what
hear the
actually
total
is there?
amount, Chris? Did you hear the total amount? Sorry, quickly.
Oh yeah, like over, because he's still got 7 years in his deal or something, doesn't he? Or 6
Oh, I
years
think
in
it
his
was
deal.
5
Grundy,
years at 300,000.
Yeah.
5 years at 300,000, and Treloar was 3 years at 300,000. So they're saying $2.4 million for 2 players to play against them.
Well, that's
which is
about
crazy.
that's
It's
about
it's
$12
the
million less than what
what's it,
the Collingwood's
Moneyball?
paying the AFL. So whatever.
Moneyball. New York are paying you 3.5 to play against us.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not paying you. Yeah, exactly. That's how much they think of you. They're paying half your salary. It's like, let's be real. I'm not paying you for the guy you were. I'm paying for what you can do for me now.
I
Can
love
we do
that
that?
movie.
That's
Can we
great.
do
Yeah,
that?
I mean,
Good movie.
there's both sides of the coin. I also, players obviously deserve privacy as well, and it's not
That's
something
why I think it should be bracket, because people talk about it anyway. Like I don't need to know every fine detail of their contract. I couldn't care
Yeah.
less about that. But tell me how many guys at Richmond that we've got between 200 and 400, 400 to 600. How many are over that next bracket, and it gives you a bit of an idea. And just tell us who's in each bracket. Like,
I'd love to know, okay, so as a total salary cap, where's your club sitting at?
that
How
too.
much do you have to spend? What's it looking like for the next year or two? Are we
Yeah.
looking at making moves, or as a fan, are we? Where are we in the window? Because clubs aren't really transparent with that sort of stuff anyway.
No, they're
Because
not
obviously
at
they
all.
want to be optimistic and they want everyone to look up. Where are we looking to spend that money? How are we looking to capitalize in that situation? Are we going the youth pathway? If we are, we're front loading contracts to try and back end and load the other way. All that sort of stuff is interesting to me as a fan, and I'm sure
And
other
it's one of
people
the
it's
things
interesting.
I agree
So
with Hutchie when he talks about like full fan access, like with the NFL, NBA players. All of them are made available to interview before and after games.
yeah, it's part of the
They're
package.
like, about all their deals. Like over here, like you hear a big deal for, one of the big like quarterbacks or star players in the NBA. Everybody knows what big contract they're on. It's just,
Yeah.
it's out there and that.
It's
And
actually, yeah, and so I mean, unless there's a maximum as well, so there's no you can only get paid X amount and
yeah,
then
See,
that's the actual
the issue is that
maximum player amount.
if we know, then all the clubs know. And if someone's getting the squeeze, then it's easy for for people to try and cherry pick.
but the clubs know
Um,
anyway because their agents talk, mate.
Yeah, agents know.
You can't pretend the agents don't talk, and then there's always like how many club leaks come out? Like it's amazing, and we all know, and we talk like our followers, some of it on Twitter and stuff like that. We all get we all have mates of mates of mates who work at clubs. And we find out leaks before it gets announced. It
Yeah,
just
always.
it's
Players are the
well, at
they
least it's
worst
hearsay. At
yeah.
least it's
because
And
players
hearsay.
talk to their
players are
players are
probably
the
the worst because
worst.
they sit there and talk to their mates, and their mates
Don't
go,
And
talk
then
"Oh,
their
about
mates are like,
leaks,
"Oh,
boys. Don't talk about leaks. Bevo might get really pissed off
yeah,
somewhere about leaks coming
no,
out of the clubs.
but
yeah."
players
And
are guaranteed the worst."
AFL is one of the probably most insulated sports in the world, where they don't want anything out. Even like training, like you go past Richmond training, and as I
It's on
do
Punt
with
Road. You
my
can't miss
train
it.
all the, yeah, I know, with my train all the time, and there's so people stand outside and watch where they can, but they're always trying to hide things and that, and like just bloody open it up, like keep all your in like when you're in with the whiteboard and stuff like that, like your actual plan details. But
You know
yeah,
who's the worst at that, Swizz?
yeah,
Adelaide. They're still trying to hide stuff from a training
oh, they
camp 4
are,
years ago.
I know,
They're the worst.
yeah, they are. It's true. It's true. And then you get shit like
Absolutely.
this. Like we shouldn't be
I'm just
talking
glad
about
it
the
wasn't
Adelaide
Collingwood.
situation 4
Wow.
years later.
No,
Like,
you just had the other report that came out, Chris. That was very
yeah,
damning, and you lost a
Oh.
president and a whole bunch of
yeah.
other stuff.
Wow.
No,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
it
Like
is.
after
Hey, glad it
you've had
wasn't us.
Well, they talk about this and oh, what do the fans want and stuff, and like, well, a bit of transparency, like other sports around the world. And the other thing, and this is the problem, as I was talking about on Footy Classified the other day, where you want players to come out and be honest. Like Ed Langdon, for example, yeah, it might have not been the smartest thing, but I loved it. I loved the fact that he came out and said it, and he copped it, and they lost. Like he's got to wear that now. But I would like the players to speak their mind. I thought Ricky Stewart the other day, like you can say that's right or wrong for a coach to
and then
do
he
that,
gets
but
fined. Yeah.
yeah, how refreshing is that? The coach comes out and fucking says, "No, that guy's a weak prick," or whatever he called him and stuff like that. In there, like, yeah, I actually like when they're actually honest instead of the stupid on-ground interviews at halftime. Yeah, how you going, mate? Oh, yeah, we're playing well. Like,
Yeah,
offers
all the
absolutely nothing to the
cliches.
fans.
Car
See, that's
job
why I
real
like
good.
Robbo. I like Robbo
Yeah,
for that
Robbo's
fact. Mitch
fantastic.
Robbo. Because
Yeah,
even when he hops on Twitter, he still like ragdolls or just talks how he feels
he
or what he's
does.
going. And he's not a perfect person. And sometimes he goes kind of a bit carried away and giving some Richmond fans the bird and all the
Yeah,
rest of it. But
that's great. But then next time Robbo plays us, okay, we're gonna be fired up. Like, no one's crossing the line there. Like, how often have we ever had a fan or a player jump the fence and have a go? Like, it does. Like, there's still a line where everyone understands. And that, so it's great for, like, it makes us as the fans next time go, oh, Richmond, Brisbane playing, let's go, because we want to fucking boo Robbo and get into him. And you want that. That's what makes footy great.
That's why, whenever you go to the football Swizz, there's always parole officers around.
Oh,
right?
there absolutely is. But it's awesome. Like, that's all in good spirits anyway. Like, as long as people aren't swearing around kids or fighting,
Yeah.
like, what's
No,
wrong
I'm
with
getting
like,
it.
like,
That was obviously a
was it
reference to your...
South Park Bat Dad and that, and when they end up like going around the little league baseball and fighting and swearing, it's like, that's my guy and that, and it's like, yeah, that's me sometimes, that's your guy. But as long as it's not swearing or whatever, what's wrong with a bit of banter in the crowd, or banter with, like, well, you always play that friggin', it's Grundy, like Darcy
Oh,
Moore, who kicked
absolutely.
that ball in, and I'm giving it to Darcy Moore on the sidelines there. And I'm sure he turned around and said something or whatever after the Pies hit the front. But that's great. Like Marlon Pickett last weekend. How good was that? Like, that's what you want in footy.
I love it.
Yeah.
I suppose we should just touch on VCNC before we
Probably.
go, but I think we
I
already
thought
thought
it
did
we
was
already
obvious.
have.
earlier.
I thought
Is
we
there
did
anyone
that
else
Pretty obvious,
ages ago.
mate.
outside of Laird and Oliver?
Mills is the only other one, but
Well,
outside
Mills
of
is the captain on the Sunday.
yeah,
What if
Game.
you don't
captaincy,
have any of
it's
them? Who's
no,
somebody
it's
different?
for me. For me, it would be, I don't mind like if you don't have a Clary, I don't mind going a VC on Neil against the Saints,
If you
and
don't
then
have
just
Laird,
knowing
maybe Dawson.
Dawson. No,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
If you
I
don't
still
have
think,
Laird
as in a VC.
as a VC,
if you do have Laird, I
yeah.
don't mind
If I'm
a.
saying, if you're one of the people that don't have Laird and you've got
You,
Dawson, maybe
you don't
Dawson
think
as your VC.
you don't think that Owens goes to Neil this week?
I
Yeah,
don't think
I
he
was
can
I was
handle
leaving
Neil.
the St Kilda Brisbane game alone.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't
Not like
mind
I
it,
like
but
that.
they've also lost Jones and a few others. I'm saying if you have Laird and you don't have Clary, Laird's the biggest lock
Yeah,
of a captain that you have. So then you might as well risk it on a Neil and hope he goes 145 or whatever. The only issue is if he goes 127, 128, which Neil could do, then you kind of feel like it's enough, but
I'd
it's not
rather
enough.
I'd rather
VC
one of the doggies than the Brisbane Saints game. If you didn't have one of those Adelaide players,
against
Yeah,
Frio, you reckon?
doggies. No, they're
one of
playing the
them.
Giants
No,
at
they're playing
Marvel.
Giants.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, Giants. That
Doggies
was
kill it
last
at
week.
Marvel.
it's
Like
Bont.
Bont's average at Marvel this year is ridiculous.
Yeah, you got to go Bont
Bont
if
has
you're going to go
absolutely
one of those
killed
guys.
games at
Hey,
Marvel
okay,
this year.
that's a great call, Swizz. I might do that in my keeper league this week, mate. I might just
Yeah,
put Bont on for
of
you.
course you fucking will. Don't worry, I think I've got Dunkley in that one, don't I? And that he's been killing
I
it.
think you
So.
do have Dunkley.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. It'll be a Bonds versus Dunkley off.
Yeah.
And we can see where we finish up. Hey, what do you reckon? Also, a little shout out for any keeper leagues as well. If it looks like you're losing, dump every single old prick you have and look for any young talent on your bench. If because that way at least you can usually watch a whole preseason and someone might bop up and absolutely kill it, and you've already got them.
Oh no, mate, I won't be going Dunkley. I'll be going Laird, thanks.
You have Laird.
Yeah, I've got Laird.
Oh, I am so screwed. I've got at least with me, I've got Neil, Tuke-Miller, Bontempelli, and Gorn, which didn't go very well the other week because all four of them played at the exact same time. So
Yeah, I'll just straight up Captain Laird. I might do McCluggage into Laird, but it doesn't even fucking matter about McCluggage. Just taking Laird.
oh, that sucks for me. That sucks for me hardcore.
It's good. Like it.
Oh.
Stay down, Bont. Tag him. Tag the shit out of him, Giants. Put him at full forward, Bevo. Don't risk him. Don't need to risk him. Sub him off at quarter time.
Going against Pitney. Neil against the Saints. Tuke-Miller against Geelong. I don't think I'd like that one.
Oh, I've got Chera as well. Chera. Tag Walsh. Let Chera run around and do anything he wants.
Nice.
That's going to hurt.
All right, guys. I
might
think
have
that's
to...
pretty much us.
Yeah,
there,
that's
right?
it. Well, I don't need to rag on Benny Boy anymore. He's copped
Thanks,
it enough.
mate.
He's done for the year
Appreciate
anyway.
it.
Yeah.
I'm done. What? What is this? I'm sitting there listening to this kind of shit talk. You guys talking over each other all fucking night. I'm here patient as a mouse, and that's all I get.
Play your role, mate.
Right? Cocky
deserve.
Richmond supporter on the wins. Guy, where's your team coming? Second?
Yeah, we're flying along.
I feel like this is Melbourne of a couple of years ago. Melbourne kept losing, and I kept tipping them, doubling down for the tide to change. And that's exactly what's happened to Collingwood. I keep saying they're going to lose, and they keep winning. It really upsets me, Chris.
Mate, I'm up and about, mate. Up and the Tigers are looking good. We're in a cricket grand final, not this Saturday, the Saturday afterwards. Pumped up at the moment, mate.
Look, I'm not how I feel about this hour and 4 minutes, but that's it from us. We'll talk to you soon, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.
Righty, boy.